debt fund focused on climate adaptation with catalytic capital, secure to build a relevant blended finance structure, women-led fund, SME focus, 2 times gender lens, 3 clear thematics in line with planetary boundaries, fundraising secured or well underway, including with local pension funds and private investors. Well-rounded value proposition is obviously there, right? Oh, it's obvious. Yay. Did I forget something? Yes, they're active in East and Southern Africa. So to be serious about planetary boundaries, we collectively need to be serious about how we channel massive amounts of private capital towards Africa. Because the scales are more than uneven at this point, and our collective futures depend on it. So to do that, how about we started assessing risk from a clean slate with actual data? Because finance and investments are all about data, right? My dear Laure Wessemius yesterday from NAB Impact has published substantial evidence for pension funds on the matter. And please take a look at it if you're not aware of her documents. Let's see what Sandrine has to say about it. Thank you, Sandrine.
Thank you very much. One of the largest climate investment opportunities in the world today is not in Silicon Valley or Europe, it's in Africa. IFC estimates this at $2.8 trillion. Over the past 10 years, I've worked with entrepreneurs and investors building growth on a continent. And what I see time and again is profitable businesses struggling to find the long-term capital they need to grow. Yet climate change already is reshaping essential sectors, from food security, health resilience, emergency response, human capital. Yet Africa only receives 0.3% of global climate finance. And this is not just an African story. It is also a European one. We are dependent on Africa for agri-supply chain and inputs, and for the green transition, from critical mineral to renewable energy. Yet Africa only receives 0.3% of the world's credit market. So investing in climate resilience in Africa is also investing in supply chain security for Europe. At EG Capital, we're mobilizing 100 million private debt for climate adaptation to start with. These investments are driven by SMEs who require flexible private credit, not just climate tech or large infra financing. And I was saying earlier, Africa only receives 0.3% of the world's private credit market. That is a structural gap and a mispricing opportunity. Now let's look at your own portfolio. How much is invested at home? How much is invested in emerging markets? How much is invested in Africa? Raise your hand today if you've already allocated to the continent in this room. This is called the home bias, and perhaps understandable with the world today. However, we must remember to invest where we have strategic alliances to build and where we have high dependencies. To unlock this opportunity, because we all know about risk, actual or perceived, we use blended finance. At the fund level, it means we blend 85 million senior capital with 15 million junior equity and 30 million guarantee, which we are completing with the government of Sweden. This means we do this to mobilize private sector capital, reduce the cost of lending for SMEs, and protect returns, up to 30% capital protection. Our senior investors target 15% IRR net on the dollar, but we really offer you the opportunity to be MAD, M-A-D. And you know what that is? Making a difference. Let me bring this to life. We're currently exploring an investment opportunity in Zambia, a company doing plant-based protein and climate-resilient crops, working with thousands of farmers. In Zambia, local banks are lending between 20 to 40%, high collateral, short tenor, limiting growth. Our solution, long-term private credit, structured return, and self-liquidating exits. We are also your shepherd. We work with family offices and industrial groups to co-invest at the fund level and the deal level, and we bring you market entry in strategic assets and uncorrelated markets. In closing, Africa is key for transition. Adaptation, an essential investment opportunity. At EG Capital, we bring 50 years experience and a 70 million pipeline already deploying into our first investments. And as Imen said, we're completing first close with 90% already secured, limited allocations remaining. What have we achieved in first close? 80% private sector mobilization and 10 million African capital. A bit delighted to connect during the summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So questions for Sandrine? Yes, Ines. There's a microphone. Please, as a point of logistics for the people who weren't around at the beginning, please make sure to avoid coming and going during the pitch moments, so the 4 minutes, please, out of respect for their focus. So, Ines.
Thank you, Sandrine, for the pitch. What are the LP profiles that you are looking for?
Thank you. In our private sector bucket, we have family offices in the first close. In the next 18 months, as we prepare final close, we are preparing a listing in the Nairobi Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange in the private markets pocket, and we are going to mobilize pension funds and insurance companies. We have a mix of European and African investors, so European families, but also African families, and also an African pension fund from the Rwanda Social Security Board.
Thank you.
And we mix that with public investors too, DFIs.
Another question from the room? Yes.
Thank you, Sandrine. Can you discuss a little bit more about your business case for supporting climate adaptation and/or climate mitigation, but with probably more of an emphasis on adaptation?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. There's a lot of confusion in the market. So transition, mitigation, adaptation, what do we make of it? Mitigation, you're really buying into future technology that has the power to lead the transition. Adaptation, we're solving the problems today. What do we do with floods, droughts, fires, climate events today? So we make sure that there's still an economy to invest in when that technology comes in the future, which is why it's how do our essential services continue to operate in a climate crisis? So it's very much SME financing and not your climate tech VC or infra, which is a big missing middle.
Thank you, Sandrine. Last question. We still have 45 seconds. Quick question and quick answer. I'm sure you have a question. Yes, Astrid. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's quite unique to have African family offices and European family offices together in a fund. How did you bring them together?
Thank you.
All right. I think it's a lot of connecting the dots. And I'm really a strong believer that if you put the right people at the table with the right ethos and values, you actually can solve amazing problems and do so in a commercial way. Intra-Africa regional trade is 80% of our mandate. So our Kenyan family has done extremely well in East Africa. They're one of the 300 billionaires in the region, but they're still hungry to do more and to take their business and to open up their distribution networks to other smaller SMEs to make them grow. And similarly for European families, they're looking for market entry into Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine.